I'm finding age is something to play with. An aging person who thinks that they are at the top of their game and everything is just perfect, who trips and falls, I'm interested in that.
Shirley MacLaine has been a cinematic icon for decades, thanks to her breakthrough performance in Alfred Hitchcock's The Trouble with Harry. She is one of the few Hollywood legends who have had such sustained success during her incredible 70-year career. Even while she had a glittering career filled with legendary roles and praise, there weren't always roses behind the scenes. Shirley has had her fair share of disagreements with co-stars she struggled to collaborate with. At 91 years old, she has now spoken up, naming the one co-star she detested. Shirley MacLaine claims to have detested working with the following actors, and we examine them in further detail in this video. But before we get into the specifics of that troubled relationship, let's take a step back and look at Shirley's childhood and how she became famous. The Beatty family of Richmond, Virginia, welcomed Shirley MacLaine Beatty into the world on April 24, 1934. MacLaine was born Shirley MacLaine MacLaine. Shirley Temple, a famous child actress, was just 6 years old when she was named after her. Shirley honed her skills at a young age since she came from a creative household. Ira Owens Beatty, her father, was a real estate agent, school administrator, and psychology professor, among other things. The involvement of Shirley's mother, Kathleen Corinne, née MacLaine, a theater teacher from Wolfville, Nova Scotia, who was born in Canada, was crucial in supporting Shirley's creative endeavors. Warren Beatty, Shirley's younger brother, changed the spelling of his surname for professional reasons and went on to become a famous actor, writer, and director. All three of the siblings were brought up in a Baptist home. From Richmond to Norfolk, Arlington, Waverly, and back to Arlington, Shirley's family traveled about a lot when she was a kid. The family moved to Arlington's Dominion Hills area in the 1950s. Her father had been a teacher at Thomas Jefferson Junior High School by 1945. There were numerous things that made Shirley's childhood special. She had trouble walking and frequently tripped as a little kid due to her fragile ankles. As early as the age of 3, her mother had her enrolled in ballet courses at the Washington School of Ballet to help hone her skills. A cure for a physical problem laid the groundwork for Shirley's remarkable adventure. She went from being a vulnerable youngster to a Hollywood celebrity because she refused to give up no matter what. Despite developing an interest in acting and singing, her devotion to the ballet school paid off, and she hardly missed a lesson as her enthusiasm for performance flourished. From the very beginning, Shirley's rebellious nature shone through. Famous director Don Siegel once said of Shirley, "Hard to feel warmth toward, unfeminine, and very, very hard." Shirley harnessed her boundless energy through her baseball prowess, where she became known as Powerhouse. Due to her height and the dearth of male students in her class, Shirley frequently portrayed male characters in school plays such as Sleeping Beauty and Romeo and Juliet. An important turning point occurred during Cinderella preparations when she hurt her ankle, but decided to perform nevertheless. Shirley realized she was too tall, and her ankles were too weak for a ballet career after her accident, so she left the profession and went into acting instead. Following that, she went on to Arlington's Washington Lee High School, where she was a cheerleader and member of the theater club. How did Shirley MacLaine become a famous actress, and which of her co-stars was the most challenging to collaborate with? Find out by continuing to watch. Shirley MacLaine, the multi-award-winning actress, frequently paved the way to her fame by seizing chances. I was learning that life does not just happen to us. Shirley began her acting career during the summer holidays after enrolling at Washington Lee High School. Soon after finishing college, she began dancing in Broadway shows, notably in the film Me and Juliet. She went from MacLaine to MacLaine during her audition since the producer kept getting her name wrong. She then worked with Carol Haney on set of The Pajama Game, where Haney taught her acting techniques. A few months after filming had begun on The Pajama Game, fate intervened when Carol Haney tore a ligament, rendering her ineligible to appear. Hal B. Wallace, a producer at Paramount Pictures, saw Shirley's potential and offered her the role of Carol, which led to her first 5-year contract. After Shirley's breakthrough performance in The Pajama Game, director Alfred Hitchcock put her in her first feature picture, 1955's The Trouble with Harry. She won the Golden Globe for Best New Star, actress for her role in the film, which she took part in when she was just 19 years old. Following her debut, MacLaine started appearing in films that would later help propel her to stardom. Whenever she was in a picture, it was a financial smash. She had an appearance in the 1955 Martin and Lewis film Artists and Models. Then, in 1956, she won an Oscar for Best Picture for her role as Aouda, the female protagonist of the epic adventure comedy Around the World in 80 Days. Hot Spell, The Sheepman, and The Matchmaker were the 3 films in which she was featured in 1958. As Shirley MacLaine took on increasingly difficult parts and broadened her acting repertoire, her career skyrocketed in the 1960s and beyond. Her charismatic performance and adaptability made her famous for her ability to switch gears between comedic and dramatic roles with ease. Her reputation as one of Hollywood's most gifted and desirable actresses was cemented by films like The Apartment, 1960, for which she received an Academy Award nomination. As an actress, MacLaine never shied away from challenging norms or popular opinion by taking on parts that dealt with weighty and frequently divisive topics. In addition to her work in film, Shirley was known for her candid memoirs and talks about her spiritual journey and her outspoken attitude. She won over many admirers who looked up to her for her bravery in real life and on television because of her genuine self-expression. Shirley was never afraid to talk about the tough co-stars and the strains of Hollywood life, even though she was the center of attention and received many plaudits for her work. She has been an inspiration to many performers by her perseverance and hard work. Taking on parts in cinema, theater, and television that highlighted her developing abilities, MacLaine stayed dedicated to her craft, even after decades in the field. In the annals of entertainment, Shirley MacLaine is indelibly etched as a pioneering spirit with an unfaltering devotion to narrative. Shirley's rise to stardom was thrilling, risky, and lightning quick. Before starring in Ocean's 11 alongside Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack in 1958, she appeared in a string of films. Shirley was asked to join the restricted group of performers known as the Rat Pack after her time working with them. Shirley was the lifeblood of the Rat Pack because of her gregarious nature and infectious enthusiasm. Her role in the 1960 romantic comedy The Apartment, which also starred Fred MacMurray as Baxter and Jack Lemmon as an insurance clerk, catapulted her to stardom. This was one of the most notable films of the 1960s, earning several Oscar nods for things like Best Art Direction, Best Original Screenplay, Best Film Editing, and Best Director. Despite Shirley's best efforts, Elizabeth Taylor was named Best Actress. After the fact, Charlize Theron, a film reviewer, praised Shirley MacLaine for breathing life into the silent picture, calling it raw, real, and funny. After finding success in films with a romantic bent, Shirley went on to star in other films and work with other legendary performers. Her subsequent film credits include the critically acclaimed Irma la Douce, 1963, and the groundbreaking The Children's Hour, 1961. Her career trajectory was called into doubt when she went 14 years without receiving any recognition, despite her promising start. She was about to land a $750,000 part in the musical Bloomer Girl when she was embroiled in a lawsuit. Despite receiving a Golden Globe nomination and performing the theme song, If My Friends Could See Me Now, which would later be associated with her in interviews, her 1969 film Sweet Charity, directed by Bob Fosse, was a commercial flop. With 1977, after a brief hiatus, Shirley made a triumphant return with The Turning Point, which garnered her fourth Best Actress Oscar nomination. Shirley has had an impressive acting career spanning over 60 years, during which she has garnered 70 nominations and 50 wins, including an Oscar. Despite Shirley's undeniable acting prowess, many questioned whether the cinema star was losing her mojo after over 2 decades of outstanding performances, particularly in the wake of Sweet Charity's box office bomb. After what appeared like a slump in her acting career, Shirley took a few years off to concentrate on writing and other pursuits, marking a change in her trajectory. Her first memoir, Don't Fall Off the Mountain, released in 1970, detailed her heated meeting with Mike Connolly, a Hollywood journalist. Notably, Shirley was featured on the cover of the New York Post on June 11, 1963, following her altercation with Connolly, who had written a piece detailing her continuing dispute with producer Hal B. Wallace, whom she had sued for violation of contract, and her subsequent punching of Connolly in the mouth. Shirley had a slump in her career from 1970 until 1976. The UK-filmed sitcom Shirley's World, which she starred in as a photographer, was co-produced by ITC and Sheldon Leonard, marking her transition to television. She took a break from acting in 1972 to support George McGovern for president. She was turned down by director William Friedkin for The Exorcist, despite an invitation from her friend William Blatty. This was due to her previous appearance in The Possession of Joel Delaney, another spooky picture. With Claudia Weil, Shirley co-directed the 1975 Oscar-nominated documentary The Other Half of the Sky, a China memoir. Women in China were the main characters in the film. Shirley carried on her family's tradition of intellectual curiosity while also drawing on her mother's artistic talents and her own interest in philosophy and the performing arts. In 1976, she made a remarkable return to the stage as a professional vocalist, playing at the New York Palace Theatre and the London Palladium. Success is falling 9 times and getting up 10 is a phrase from John Bon Jovi that obviously speaks to Shirley and her legendary comeback. She was a fantastic actress who changed the way women were portrayed in movies. Despite setbacks, she returned with a bang, getting a nomination for 4 Oscars in the process. A new chapter of Shirley's career began in 1977 with her co-starring Anne Bancroft in The Turning Point, in which she played a retired dancer. This character would continue for the next half-century, as the actress adjusted to the ever-changing demands of the entertainment business. Shirley was honored for her achievements to expanding women's participation in the business with the Women in Film Crystal Award for Excellence and Devotion, following her 4th Oscar nomination in 1978. She was nominated for a Golden Globe and won a British Academy Film Award for her performance in Being There, which she co-starred in with Peter Sellers. Then, in 1980, Shirley co-starred with Anthony Hopkins and Bo Derek in a picture that was heavily panned for its plot holes, lack of tension, and comedic moments. Nonetheless, the film's sole redeeming quality, according to New York Times reviewer Vincent Canby, was Shirley's performance. Shirley co-starred with Deborah Winger, Jeff Daniels, John Lithgow, and Jack Nicholson in the 1983 film Terms of Endearment. She finally won the Best Actress Oscar for the 2nd time in her career, and the picture made over $108.4 million at the box office, making it the second highest-grossing picture of 1983. Her prolific acting career continued with 1989's Steel Magnolias, for which she won a BAFTA, and 1990's Postcards from the Edge, for which she was nominated for a Golden Globe. Bruno, a young child who has trouble expressing himself, was her debut feature film, released in 2000, also called The Dress Code. Shirley has been a leading lady in a slew of films and TV shows since 2000. Her work in Coco Before Chanel garnered her a Primetime Emmy and a Golden Globe nomination. From the 1950s onward, Shirley has, without a doubt, been giving superb performances. Even the free-spirited, unconventional diva Shirley has a human side. Despite her tomboyish nature, she yearned for love, but was bewildered by the complexities of acting, marriage, and family. She had a number of encounters with guys both on and off set, but none of them captivated her. Instead, she put her outlandish notions about love to the test with them. Shirley had relationships with several notable men before settling with Steve Parker, who is supposedly her daughter's father. These men included Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme, Andrew Peacock, an Australian politician, Lord Mountbatten in the early 1960s, and others. Shirley wrote about Steve in her memoirs how gorgeous he was, how brilliant he was, and how his blue eyes had a depth and perceptiveness that moved her instantly. Shirley wed Steve Parker in 1954, but their contentious and brief open marriage was more than that. Our bond had the sting of fate connected to it. It was in 1982 when they finalized their divorce. Sachi, their 1956-born daughter, found out later that her biological father was Paul, an astronaut. While living with Steve in Japan, Sachi assisted her mother in escaping Steve's controlling and violent conduct, beginning when she was 2 years old. Before they divorced, Steve coerced Shirley into giving him a huge monthly stipend by pretending to be Paul and telling her about his fantasies of intergalactic travel. After hearing that Parker had passed away in 2001, Shirley found out that he was still alive and well and residing in the valley. Lucky me, my life with and without my mom, Shirley MacLaine, Sachi Parker's autobiography was published by Penguin Group USA on February 7, 2013. Virtually all fiction was MacLaine's description of the novel. Her romance with Robert Mitchum was notable throughout her marriage to Steve Parker. Life happened to him, Shirley wrote about Mitchum in her 2011 book, I Am Over All That. He was the one I hit. They had a passionate affair for 3 years despite being married. They met on the set of Two for the Seesaw in 1962. He seldom made things happen. She was considered treacherously beautiful by Mitchum, who was 20 years her older. Together, they traveled extensively, seeing Africa, Paris, New York, London, and New Orleans. Except for Jack Nicholson, Terms of Endearment, and Jack Lemmon, The Apartment, Irma la Douce, Shirley frequently fell for leading men she worked with, and she admitted on The Oprah Winfrey Show in April 2011 that she had an open marriage with Steve. Hollywood has always been Shirley's lifeblood, but everyone wants to know what she's like when she's not acting. According to Shirley's biography, Don't Fall Off the Mountain, she expressed her desire to focus on her life outside of acting by writing extensively on metaphysics, spirituality, and reincarnation. Shirley also likes singing and has a productive writing career. During the COVID lockdown, Shirley wrote Out on a Leash, the most current of her 14 autobiographies about her life and career in Hollywood. Her writings inspire introspection. It is Shirley's pleasure to go on walks. She set out on her 500-mile solo Camino de Santiago trek in 1994. Until the media started interfering, she enjoyed the trip, despite the memories and agony it brought back. She even tossed stones at the camera team. As a political activist, Shirley Beatty is well known for her work with her brother Warren Beatty in 1972, when they were instrumental in George McGovern's presidential campaign as fundraisers and organizers. This was the year that she published McGovern, The Man and His Beliefs, and made appearances at fundraisers, spending her personal $250,000 on the campaign, to the point that her talent agency threatened to terminate her for declining film offers. Shirley has made a name for herself as an independent thinker who isn't afraid to question the status quo in her quest for cosmic meaning. Her humorous and candid works explore the hidden secrets of life, such as self-awareness, the meaning and purpose of existence, one's relationship with the divine, life beyond Earth, and the afterlife. In her work as an award-winning actor and best-selling novelist, Shirley MacLaine takes readers on bold, thought-provoking adventures. As part of her quest for knowledge, she has accompanied the first female documentary team into China, traveled the Camino de Santiago, and lived among the Maasai people in Africa. Mystic J channeled a spirit named Ramtha, who was 35,000 years old, into Shirley's life, and Shirley asserted that she was her brother in a past existence in Atlantis. Night Z. Popular works such as Dancing in the Light and Out on a Limb reveal her deep fascination with metaphysics and spirituality. As part of her spiritual journey, she has worked with Chris Griscom, walked the way of St. James, and practices transcendental meditation. A few of her films were influenced by New Age mysticism. Postcards from the Edge, 1990, features her singing I'm Still Here, with special lyrics by Stephen Sondheim, including I'm Feeling Transcendental, Am I Here? And Albert Brooks' Defending Your Life. 1991 features her introducing former incarnations in the Past Lives Pavilion. She plays a New Age believer in the 2001 television movie These Old Broads. Her claims of seeing a UFO event in 1950s Washington, D.C., and on Oprah in April 2011 that she and her neighbor saw UFOs at her New Mexico ranch are among her UFO experience interviews that she has done on CNN, NBC, and Fox News. Could what she says be true? Post your opinions down here. When MacLaine made some provocative remarks regarding Jews, Christians, and Stephen Hawking in 2015, he came under fire. He implied that the Holocaust victims had to deal with their own karma, and that Hawking had unconsciously influenced his ALS to concentrate on physics. In order to promote her films and chat about her life and profession, Shirley frequently made appearances on talk programs. Every once in a while, inquiries become more intimate. On October 1988's The Late Show with Dave Letterman, Letterman mocked and irritated her over her belief in reincarnation. After she requested him to stop, he continued, and she had an angry outburst on live, saying, maybe Cher was right. This was a reference to Cher. With that, they stepped off the stage. She told Letterman he should be able to tell if she was truly angry or not. Shirley vowed to herself that she would never bring up the subject of reincarnation again once the interview finished. Despite the fact that he wasn't her co-star, she clearly despised Dave Letterman as a guest. Despite Shirley MacLaine's aversion to her co-star, the picture that catapulted her to fame also included her. Many performers found Shirley to be either a delight or a challenge, depending on their mood. Despite popular belief, she had nothing but admiration for filmmaker Don Siegel, whom she worked with on Two Mules for Sister Sarah, despite the fact that she despised him. Besides Siegel, who else? Anthony Hopkins, the actor. The Oscar-winning picture Terms of Endearment featured Shirley as the mother of Deborah Winger. Having worked with Hopkins before that disagreement, he referred to her as obnoxious. Shirley responded by saying she didn't like Hopkins and had a bad experience collaborating with him on A Change of Seasons. Hopkins fought alcoholism, but Shirley is conscientious and vocal, so they both have powerful personalities. Their issues started during the Razzie-winning worst film of all time, A Change of Seasons. However, Shirley's distaste for Hopkins was far from over. Along with her, Deborah Winger developed a list. Despite Shirley's anticipation of collaborating with Winger and her long-standing admiration for her skill, the two had a rocky relationship away from the camera. There were whispers of fights and squabbles, with one book claiming that Deborah had pulled Shirley's skirt and farted in her face. Despite the fact that both actresses had received nominations and Shirley had won. No amount of denial from Winger could withstand the question. Shirley declared Deborah Winger her most loathed co-star and promised never to collaborate with her again after a string of humiliating situations involving the two of them. Even after 35 years, their dispute continues to garner headlines. How about Shirley MacLaine's connections with her co-stars? What are your thoughts on that? Let us know what you think by leaving a comment. For tuning into this video, I am grateful. Hopefully, you were captivated by it. Click the link that appears on your screen to read the latest celebrity news. We'll see you there.